Good morning, everybody. There were many players in the story of European settlement of North America, and the first British attempt was the colony at Roanoke, Virginia. But that didn't last, and it was on this date, June 19, in 1586, that first set of colonists left Roanoke and headed back home after being there for about a year. Our event happened in North Carolina. I called it Virginia in my intro because that was the generic name for that part of the East Coast back then. So it was probably first seen by a European when Verrazano sailed along the East Coast in 1524. And Elizabeth the Queen has a lot in her mind in the 1580s, and one of them is the Spanish. The Spanish didn't like her. They thought she was illegitimate. You recall the story of Henry VIII and his various wives. And Spain was really wealthy because of all the treasure it was getting from the New World. So Elizabeth wanted a spot in North America to keep an eye on the Spanish fleet. That was really the biggest reason for the Roanoke colony. And the man in charge was Walter Raleigh. He wasn't Sir Walter Raleigh then. So he knew people, got people together, and the idea was to send out an exploratory expedition, so to speak, to the New World. So in April of 1584, a couple of ships showed up in what's now North Carolina and explored the area, looking at the harbors and things, and also came in contact with the native peoples. So here's a map of where some of the indigenous people lived. And then they went back to report. And the report was so exciting that Queen Elizabeth knighted Raleigh, and he became Sir Walter Raleigh. And people were just fascinated by probably some of the exaggerations of the reports. So in 1585, a new group went to Roanoke Island to set up a more permanent settlement. And they had all these great expectations. And well, so they set up a fort. Here's an artist's drawing of what the fort might have looked like. And they built other structures and tried to carry on as best they could, but it became pretty clear when the winter came, so this would be the winter of 1585-86, they really needed the help of the native peoples, particularly with food. So they ate a lot of corn. Indians called it maize, and then venison and other things. And as the months went by, the tension with the native peoples really increased. Here's a picture of a village. Had to do with ideas of property and just different customs. So our event, June 19, 1586, the group hitched a ride back to England with Sir Francis Drake, who, as you know, sailed around the world a bunch of times, but he really was harassing the Spanish fleet, and he's on his way home, so he took those people with him, and they had with them tobacco, as well as potatoes and also corn. So they introduced these things to the English diet. That was pretty cool. So the next year, 1587, another group heads over to Roanoke with the idea of setting up a more permanent settlement. And the idea was to get supply ships from England on a regular basis. But the next year, 1588, the Spanish tried to get Elizabeth off the throne by invading England. This is the Spanish Armada. All ships had to be available for that crisis, so none of the supply ships went to North Carolina. And then finally, in 1590, supply ships come, and no one's there. The settlement's abandoned, and they find this word on the tree, Croatoan, which could be an island. It could be the Indians on the island. And most people think that those settlers just blended in with the natives people who lived there. And archaeologically, they found bits and pieces of Elizabethan jewelry and things, but no skeletons. So when Jamestown was founded up in Virginia, and here you see the map, the distance between Roanoke and Jamestown, they did learn some lessons from the first attempts at Roanoke. And a fun fact, about 100 years after Jamestown, they ran into some Indians from the south who had blue eyes. Think about it.